Well, hello everyone. There's been a lot going on here. We still got the giveaway that's going on, and I'm probably going to end this giveaway somewhere at the end of the week. So just want to let y'all know that I haven't made the drawings yet, but probably be at the end of the week. We just had so much going on. We had a family member pass away, and we couldn't get the arrangements done and have the funeral into last Thursday. And it was with this COVID stuff going on, plus he was a veteran of the armed forces, and we had to wait for certain things with that to take place. But we're getting by. Everything's going okay. It was my father-in-law, so my wife's been kind of real down lately. This December, he would have been 90 years old. Anyway, back on the drawing, I'm also giving away, you remember I got 2 of these units. I'm giving away this one here on YouTube, and I'm giving away one on Patreon. So if you are a Patreon member, you get 2 chances to win one. So just want to let y'all know that. Now one of our viewers, or 2 of our viewers, sent in some items and give them to me. And a viewer named Bobby sent in these 2 Kenwood radios. This one's the TM-741A, and this is the TM-741A. And what I'm planning on doing with these 2 is getting them fixed up, working. A couple of new hams here in the area. See if I can hook them up with some radios. They don't have the general, they have the tech license, so VHF, UHF will be good for them. Now Mr. B out of Florida sent this in along with 2 VHF handheld marine radios, and these are highly sought after. This is the realistic. It's the HTX 100 model. So he's already gone through this and got it working right. I think he recapped it and took some mods or something out, if I remember correctly. It's been quite a while since I've looked at the email from him. But I'm probably going to give this one here away on YouTube in the future. We'll get it checked out, make sure everything's up to par. Don't have a bracket, does have the microphone, and it does also have the issue with the LCD in it, which just about all of them you find now have that issue where it's turned black in here, but it's still fully readable. There's no problems. So we'll be looking at that here in the future. Now there's several problems was wrong with this Kenwood TM-741. The first thing was I heard something rattling inside the radio, and the Bobby told me that these buttons, that's why it's got tape on them. I took the original tape off. In fact, still stuck to the bench over here, and I put this tape back on it. And I've already done one repair to this. When it first came in, I wanted to find out what was rattling around inside, so I'll be showing those clips in just a minute. But this has 2 meter 440 and 6 meter module in it, and you can see it also has that dreaded LCD problem. Now I don't know if these displays are still available. I haven't even looked to see yet, so I don't know if we can get a display. So the 6 meter module is going to have some problems seeing part of the display on that. Well, I just went ahead and looked online, and I see no front panel displays for this particular radio. I did see one for a 704, and that LCD display board was about $390. So yeah, you know, they just gonna have to live with it like that. But one of the things I wanted to tackle today is fixing the loose part that's inside, or finding out what it is, and see what we can do about these buttons. Now I looked online, I found a couple of websites that have foam, and I'm pretty sure that's what it is. The foam has deteriorated, and that's what holds these buttons in place. But I think I got another fix for it, so we'll just look at it and see. So to get the front panel off, you just hit this release button. And it'll release, and we can reach right in here and carefully unplug it. And I did notice I was hearing something rattling around in the front of this radio, and when I took the front panel off, rattling, I looked around, and inside I found this. And what that is, that's the CTCSS module. In other words, the tone board. And I was looking to see where it goes, and there's the footprint for it here. So actually the solder has let loose, and the whole thing has come off. And I think that's 9 pins here on the bottom. But also the other side has came unsoldered, so that'll have to be soldered back on. So 2 solder connections that's got to be done. Got to resolder the plug to the radio main board, and also the inner plug's got to be soldered back to the CTCSS board. So that's going to be a little fun, but no big deal. I'll probably just do that off cam, because it's a little aggravating soldering something this small anyway. So I was able to solder the connector back to the tone board with no problem. I just put some flux on it and drag soldered. Now this is located by 2 pins that go through the board, so that was real simple to solder on. The problem now is soldering the connector back inside the radio. And I can get to this side, but you can't get to the other side, you know, because you can't get your soldering angle in like that. So I'm going to have to take all this out and get this bottom board out just to solder that connector back on. Oh, there we go, mission accomplished. The socket is resoldered back to the board. And now we should be able to take the tone board and plug it right back in. And as you see, I had to take it completely apart. Take everything out of the metal frame here, just to get this accomplished. So now, got to put it back together. You know, if really thinking the thing to do now, since this board's all tore apart, is to replace all these electrolytics, and there's a bunch of them. But we're not going to do that right now, probably at a later time. Just want to make sure the radio functions and everything works, and then we'll look at doing a refurbished on it. Replace the memory battery, replace the electrolytics. And we'll go ahead and take the 2 screws out of the back, and we can take this off. And there's no screw in that side. We slide this here out, and we can pull our cable out. And there we are. I finally got me a monitor that I can set up, so I can have a monitor going while I'm recording videos. That way I can see that everything is in frame. So to get this board out, there's no screws that hold it in, so what we got to do is take all the knobs off the front. And this board should slide right out. You don't have to take any nuts off of the front. Okay, so that was a gooey mess. I went ahead and got most of the foam out. You can still see there's some remnants of it down here in the bottom. The foam is what holds these little buttons in place. I'll pull the tape off one of them. Low power button. And you can see that's all it is. Just a button with a little clear piece of plastic comes out the back. Now there's several ways you can go about fixing this. One way is you can actually cut a piece of small heat shrink, slide over it, and heat it up, and that'll keep it from going all the way through. Another thing is that you can get little small O-rings that'll slide up on it. I don't know if you can see this or not, but there's a little cut in on each side behind this switch, and that's normally where the foam sits. Okay, so what I'm going to try now is the heat shrink. As you can see, I put a piece of red heat shrink around it. It's about 1/16 of an inch thick, and that may work. The heat shrink, it sits up pretty close and doesn't stick way out. So let's try that and see what that does. I'm going to go ahead and cut the heat shrink and put it on all of them and see how it goes. Now this is going along pretty good. As you can see, I got one installed on there, and it's, come on camera, focus. It's kind of big, and the thing is, you got to use heat to shrink this down. So use very low heat and do it quickly. This is plastic we're dealing with, and it fits on there, and the buttons are real loose, and they will not come out. Okay, well, now I'll give it a try. I use 3/8 tubing on the 8 buttons, and I use 1/4 inch tubing on the 3 on the side, and I cut them about 1/16 of an inch in length. So we'll put this back together and see what this will do. Okay guys, the head is all back together, and all the buttons are working. So now the moment of truth to see if it's going to work in the radio. So I'll go ahead and get that hooked up and put together, and we'll check it out. Okay, radio's all connected up. Not sure what this is wired for, but it definitely isn't the pin out for the standard Kenwood mic. It's got a Kenwood connector on it. Either it's bad or it doesn't work. So I had to plug the microphone directly into the RJ45 connector inside the radio and then snake the wire out. So we'll turn it on. Let's see, we have PTT on 6 meters. We'll go to VHF. We have a receiver, and then UHF. I'm not hearing anything out of UHF. Well, seems to be a birdie or something on that frequency. Seems like some strange things going on. Not sure where that's coming from. That's set for low power. We set the service monitor. Alright, we seem to have another problem. We're getting a signal. Yep, some strange things going on. It might be this microphone. I disconnected the microphone, and the radio is now working. It's on the 6 meter band. That's about 0.18 millivolts. So it's definitely receiving. Let's check the VHF band. Alright, we're on VHF. We're going to generate. Crank the signal up, and you can see it's, I don't know if you can see that or not. No backlight in this radio. Backlight seems to be out. As you can see, we're showing full scale. Okay, we definitely got some loose connections in the radio. I'm back on the VHF band, and I hit generate. You can see that funky stuff that just happened. And when I key the transmitter, check 1 2 1 2, check 1 2. It's working all of a sudden. We'll go back to the UHF band. Swap the antenna around. Four 4.0. Very strange. There's nothing. No power out. Medium power. Okay, on 440 megahertz. Now it's working. We put it back on low power because I'm using a small power supply. Check 1 2. Yep, as you can see, it's working. Check 1 2. See what the frequency error is. It's more than 1 kilohertz. It's about 1.5. You can hear the receiver now working. That's 0.2. A bar. Alright, we're going to go back and try 6 meters again. That's 51.0. Interesting. Well guys, the 741 is working. It does look like we have some bugs that we're going to have to work out, and you know, Kenwood is real bad for faulty connectors, so we're going to have to come in here and check out all these connectors in this radio and make sure they're soldered in good, because whatever the problem is in a minute, you can tap the radio and it'll go right back to working. So I'll just do that in a later video. The biggest thing now, you know, was just getting the radio up and working, and see what has to be done to it. You saw how bad the solder on this tone board was. It came completely off in the radio, so those things are notorious on some of these Kenwood radios, especially in this 700 series. The 600, 621s so far had pretty good solder joints in them, but these 741s are real bad about that. Another thing that happens in these is that the RF power unit, they are ceramic, and I have seen them crack before and have no RF output. Take them apart, use silver solder, solder the traces back up, Put some super glue on the ceramic so it doesn't crack anymore, and they seem to hold up pretty good like that. But you know, they were decent radios. Were very popular when they came out. I remember back in the 90s when these came out, a lot of people around here got these and liked them pretty much, especially since it was tri-band, and which most of the people around here had 220 megahertz modules, not the 6 meters, and 6 meters wasn't very active in this area back then, but there's like 3 6-meter repeaters around here now. Well, I was going to dial in some of the local repeaters just to give it a test, and this is what I found. Go back to 6 meters, come up here, we hit megahertz, 55, 54, 52, 51, that's 53, and the local 6 meter repeater is 53.310. And you can see exactly what's going on here. I don't know if the rotary encoder is gone bad. Nope, cannot set the frequency display. Yeah, that's 310. Well, I took the front panel board back out again to look at this rotary encoder, just to make sure that any of the solder joints weren't bad, and they look okay. Now, I don't like taking these LCD packs off, because you know it uses that zebra strip across here, and as old as they are, they can start causing problems at this age where they won't go back to work. So I'll make sure I'll clean this with some alcohol. But looks like this rotary encoder's bad, so I'm going to have to go online and see if I can find one before we can go any further on this thing. So I pulled the encoder out, took it apart, and man, it is filthy. I mean, even the little fingers in there are pretty filthy. I don't know if this can be cleaned up and put back together and work or not. I'm going to give it a try and see, though. It's a lot of extra work, but, you know, having to go online and hunt down one that'll fit. These are mechanical type encoder switches. So I'm going to give that a try and see if I can make it work. Well guys, good news. Go ahead and we hit megahertz. Well, go back onto the band here. Hit megahertz. I now can scroll through the megahertz, and I can now scroll through the repeater frequencies. But at the same time, lost 6 meter display. Again, that's why I hate taking these old displays off. I don't know if it's that or I hit a button and it's turned it off. I know this first band can become a clock or other things. So I'm going to have to get the manual out and just check on that just to be sure. Still got squelch. So I'm going to have to play with that and see what's going on. Anyway, I think that's enough on this right now. I'm going to have to go through the whole complete radio anyway. Like I said, there is something loose inside that's causing an intermittent problem. And apparently got a bad connection on this zebra strip up here. But like I say, I'll consult the manual just to be sure. See, I know there's something funny about this first display. It can be turned off and on. It can be turned to a clock and other different things. We'll have to play around and see. Well guys, you can see the first display is back, and it was not a setting in the radio. It was actually a fault. And what had happened, if you look here on this bench cookie, you can see this real little piece of white material, and that's part of the plastic from around the display that had chipped off and fell directly under the zebra strip, and that kept this whole display on this side over here from working. So like I say, I always hate taking these off when they're old, because sometimes they they get old. The rubber that it's made from, it gets hard and it doesn't compress back together like it's supposed to. And the heat shrink on the back of the buttons worked great. I tried using these homemade rubber O-rings, but they're too thick, and they're too thick in the side wall of them. Now if they were about half that thickness, that probably would have been alright, but they would bind up from the separator that goes in here. But it seems to be working halfway. It does do some screwy stuff from time to time. It turn off and turn back on by itself a couple of times, and that's just telling me there's more problems inside of this probably the control head part. You got the 3 modules, back here in the back, and then all this up here is a control head, and well, your CPU and everything's that. But there's always been a lot of problems with solder joints and not making good connections in the front end. So in another video we'll tear this down and go through that. I think we get that back up like it's supposed to be. Okay, I went to all 3 bands and programmed all the local repeaters, and I say local, that's within 75 miles, and just been sitting here listening. I heard activity on one repeater on VHF. Everything around here that's on UHF is in the DMR range. They're not analog, they're DMR. You can still hear the IDs come up. And I'm sitting here looking, and you can see all this crazy stuff is happening on the screen. It's everything's in the scan mode, but you can see the thing is just going crazy. I don't know what's going on with that, but I'll stop them, and you can see nothing is where it's supposed to be. Everything is just going berserk. So yeah, I don't know if something is heating up or what's going on. So we'll power it off and power it back up. Yep, and as you can see, everything is still garbled up. So yeah, there's a lot of problems going on here. I'll kill the voltage going to it. Hit the on button a couple of times. Turn the power back on. Power the radio back up. And yeah, it's gone crazy. I put the radio back in VFO mode, and you can see everything is correct. But if I go to like VHF and put it in memory mode, it's all gone crazy. You know, it could be the battery. I didn't check the battery voltage in this thing, but the battery could be bad. So all the memory is really screwed up. I took the front plate off, and we'll test the battery voltage. I can get to either side of it, so it shouldn't be a problem. And you can see it's at 2.88 volts. So yeah, the battery voltage is way down, and that could be causing the problem with this. There's no telling how old that battery is. So yeah, that's probably the cause of the failure. Okay guys, radio's back together. I did get this cable to work. It had a bad connection in it, so I got just a regular Kenwood microphone connected to it. And the display, how it was garbled up, changing the memory battery did not solve that problem. So that means that, you know, like I said before, we got some crazy stuff going on this control head. So it'll power off and power back on by itself, and it's probably some of those electrolytic capacitors are getting out of the ESR range. So I'm gonna order those capacitors. I'm gonna order a regular memory battery to go back in it, because I just used a coin cell and soldered a couple of wires to it and soldered it in, because I do not have any of the originals. You can get them for about $9-10 bucks on eBay. So I'll get those ordered, and then we'll, in a future video, we'll tear this thing completely down and go through it and recap it, and you know, check up all the solder joints and connections and so forth. And I believe it'll be a good radio. As far as the display, nothing we can do about that. I had went online and looked and did not find nothing. I even looked to see if I could find a whole head for it, but I did not. And if you go onto the website, a lot of these parts are discontinued, no longer made. So, you know, we're talking about a radio here that's been out for quite a while now. Like I remember they came out in the early 90s, maybe 91 or 92, and was discontinued sometime between 94 and 95. So yeah, it's got some age on it, but I think we can get it up and running like we're supposed to. I just got to limit the time that I put into stuff like this when I got other things to do. Alright guys, so anyway, don't forget about the drawing for the Kotto fume extractor. I'll leave the link down below. If you haven't signed up for that yet, please do. And Patreons, don't forget there's a link on Patreon also. I'll be giving away one on Patreon. And until the next video guys, we'll see you then. Bye now.